backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
I'm actually not even on a side today. Yeah. And I'll get to that. Why are you on Texas?
I gave them a chance. Maybe not me as the overwhelming authority in college football, but entering that game on this set to you guys, I said there was one elite defense entering the matchup in Austin back to end out October. It's not the Bulldogs like it used to be. It is Texas.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred or just worked on the side or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NFL and college, they don't operate on the same timelines, right? UNLV's head coach just got, the Purdue job this morning, where I imagine, right, UNC probably needs to know from Bill.
And let's say it's late December, and we see 7, 8 teams open, and none of them want Bill. Then Bill's got to make a decision. Does he want to be a college head coach?
Pro football today, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Time to rise and grind. It's the Early Line on a Wednesday morning edition. And oh my goodness, do we got hot topics to talk about today, even if the weather is getting colder here in the winter. And next week is the Christmas holiday. We're going to bring those presents this morning that you so asked for. It's Donnie Rightside. It's Stubbs Anderson. The next 3 hours, we got you covered on all of the hottest topics, which includes quarterback changes, injury situations, getting you caught up in the NFL for what you need to know over the final 3 weeks, Stubbsy. What a glorious morning right here on the SportsGrid Network.
Happy Wednesday, sports fans. Great to see you, Donnie. Excited for what we have on tap coming up over the next couple of hours. It's bowl season. I feel like it's going to be a little football heavy going through the next couple of hours here on the slate. A lot of headlines, a lot of updates from the National Football League. So excited for all of it. And hopefully we can find a couple of winning angles for the Wednesday slate. Happy hump day.
Absolutely. By the way, feeling a little bit down on Monday, a little bit of sickness here. All that time to catch up yesterday on a Tuesday. No. I feel wonderful today. 3 hours, action-packed, full blast, and away we go. The hottest topics across the sports landscape, yeah, we got you covered in the 7 and 7 right now, which does include, how about this, Dubbsy? The Atlanta Falcons go, we paid you how much money, Kirk Cousins? What are you doing for us on the football field, which included 4 weeks of no touchdown passes, followed up by a win on Monday night and 1 touchdown pass. So 5 weeks, 1 touchdown pass sends you to the bench. Michael Penix, the new starter of the Atlanta Falcons.
Kirk is out. Penix is in. And I tell you what, this was always a bit of a strange, deal going through the offseason. $180 million for an aging quarterback who it looks like has finally caught up there with Father Time. And when you draft Michael Penix, with that 8th pick, you certainly see a lot of upside, a lot of promise. And that offense, it has been stagnant to say the least. They escaped with a victory over the Raiders there last weekend. We've seen enough from Kirk. I think it's now time to let Michael Penix get in there, let him cook and see what you've got, because right now they are in the thick of it and trying to make a push towards the playoffs.
Yeah, we're going to get into this in the next segment. There's a lot of moving parts here, but if you watch that Monday Night Football game, it's apparent a change is needed. You want to make the playoffs, you better be getting some better quarterback play. We'll hit that topic in just a few moments once again. How about this other topic? The NBA Cup. Let me tell you this, Dubsy. I didn't watch a second of the quarterfinals or semifinals, whatever they were in Vegas on Saturday. Didn't watch a second of it last night. And then I watched as they brought the champagne in, and Milwaukee's like, why even pop the bottles? This is meaningless. We got bigger things to offer. They won the game 97-81, which was an impressive victory over one of the best teams in the NBA in the Thunder. But for me, thank God the cup is over.
The only player, maybe the only person who actually cared about this thing was Giannis Antetokounmpo, and he pulled off a fantastic night there. 26 points, triple-double, and we could see the after party once they got that win. I mean, he was dancing. He was really leading the celebrations, and the thing I took away from Giannis's performance in front of the 18,000-plus over there in Las Vegas is how much he really celebrated his teammates. You know, this is a team that got off to a really shaky start. There was, chemistry concerns with him and Dame time. They look like best mates out there. The NBA Cup, second edition. It was the Lakers last year. It's the Bucks who get it this season. I'm not here for it. I think it's a little Mickey Mouse, but that's what I took away from it. Watch out for the Bucks, who may actually use this as a bit of a catapult.
Ratings in the NBA, Dubsy, absolutely tanking now. And you just wait, because I can't stand the cup. I rip it every single time I see it. Wait till you hear about what they're doing for the All-Star game this year and how the people are responding, which would include myself and Dubs. So hold on to that one. Let's get over to Major League Baseball. The Yankees lost out on Soto, but they're making big moves here. Seems like a cash dump for the Chicago Cubs, but a left-handed batter with that short porch at Yankee Stadium. Cody Bellinger goes over to the Yankees in a trade for Cody Potti. The Yanks loading up here for a run in 2025.
Yeah, it's just question marks of, what version are you going to get from Cody Bellinger once their National League MVP. If you can get it back to that kind of form, certainly going to bring a lot to the Pinstripes. He's still 29 years of age, so plenty of promise. I don't mind this one. Gives them a bit more depth, and it's a sign of them trying to recoup after not getting that contract for Juan Soto. So suddenly the Yankees, they're looking like big contenders once again, and a nice little synergy there. I believe Cody's old man, his dad Clay, also played and won a World Series with the Yankees there as well. So it becomes the fourth father-son to don the same uniform.
By the way, you look at the Yankees' moves here, too, because they lost out on Soto, as we said, which obviously was the big fish in the market. You get a quality starting pitcher, a really good closer, and now you add Bellinger, and we'll see if they add any other pieces to that lineup to make it a more well-rounded lineup, maybe for a deeper playoff run next year with a World Series championship on the line. Maybe they can get it done. Let's flip it over to college basketball here. How about Jumpman Classic? 90-84. Two things I didn't know, Dubsy. The Florida Gators are now 11-0 and a top 10 team in the country. And also, maybe Bill Belichick should start coaching the North Carolina Tar Heels basketball team. 6-5, Dubsy, for Carolina? That ain't looking good.
Hey, basketball, it is in full force. This is my favorite part of the show, Donnie. But 1984, impressive performance there. They got off to a really hot start. They're up by 12 at the halftime break. You look at Will Richard. He put up a 22-piece. He was really strong there. So for the Florida Gators, they remain undefeated, and they really didn't do anything, on the standout side, but they did enough to cover that number going off as 4.5-point favorite. So the Tar Heels, maybe they need to get Big Bill into the weight room talking to that basketball team as well.
There you go. So again, we will head into conference play for most conferences here starting in January. We'll see what it is. So some of these other games just got to get out of the way for us, which includes the bowl season. Dubsy, we got an unbelievable college playoff schedule this week starting on Friday night. But we have these meaningless bowl games still hanging around. Get excited for this one, Dubsy. The Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl, which Memphis won 42-37. Congratulations, Memphis.
Yeah, congratulations, Memphis, who had a -6. Yeah, this guy, Donnie. That was a tough watch for me. West Virginia tallied 534 total yards of offense and still couldn't get a result. This was a tough one to watch, but Memphis played really strong in that first half. On the final 5 possessions, they ended up converting to a score there. So it really wasn't as close as this end scoreline reflects. But the Memphis Tigers absolutely roared there, 42-37. It's bowl season, Donnie. Let's go bowling.
Yeah. How about this, too? It was the coffee bowl, so they dumped iced coffee on the head coach, which was pretty good, which, again, better than hot coffee. What if you got hot coffee dumped on you? That would be impressive. They brought up the big Yeti and dumped hot coffee on somebody. That would have been insane to watch that play out. But here we are in the Scooters bowl season at this point now. Let's get back over to the NFL. How about this? I don't know where it comes from, Dubsy. High ankle sprain. If anybody's ever just sprained their ankle, it hurts for days. And who would even think that you can get on the court to play pickup basketball a couple days later? Patrick Mahomes practices in full. Now looking to say he's going to play, Saturday afternoon. I don't get it. Can the guy, is he Gumby back there? Who is this guy?
He's invincible. The Kansas City Chiefs, they're unstoppable. But I'll tell you what, Patty Mahomes always seems to have this lingering ankle concern there. They're telling us a mild high sprain from last weekend, and they're going to give him every chance to try and take on the Houston Texans coming up this weekend. I think it's a really tough matchup for him. For Patty Mahomes, he probably needs a couple of weeks of rest to really get it dialed up for the playoffs, but right now there's no days off, there's no weeks off. I'm just a little curious, is there a bit of gamesmanship going into the reports we're getting from Andy Reid? But Patty Mahomes, he's going to do everything in his power. He's an absolute gamer, and he wants to be out there competing.
He is such a tough guy, man. I can't believe it. If he barely can move, he still wants to be in the pocket. It's crazy to watch it play out. But keep in mind, Carson Wentz in 2017 was the best player in the NFL before blowing his knee out on the road against the Rams. Could this happen where Mahomes comes back too quickly, knocked out for the year? Carson Wentz takes over and actually gets a ring here at this point. Intrigue out there in the streets. You know what else is intriguing? Michael Vick going back to college football. He wants to be a head coach, and Norfolk State, Dubsy, is his new job.
Yeah, exciting. This will be quite the opportunity. Tough program. And for Michael Vick as a head coach, he's learned under two of the best there, Mike Tomlin, Andy Reid. So excited to see the future there. And Mike Vick, he's been fantastic on the broadcast side as well.
Kirk Cousins, what happened? Must be nice going to the bench and getting all that money. We'll talk about it next on the early line.
I'm actually not even on a side today.
Yeah.
And I'll get to that. Why are you on Texas?
I gave them a chance. Maybe not me as the overwhelming authority in college football, but entering that game on this set to you guys, I said there was one elite defense entering the matchup in Austin back to end out October. It's not the Bulldogs like it used to be. It is Texas.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I'm ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long.
You don't want them to go 13-0 and then lose the first round of the playoffs.
Red.
Yeah, this is their last shot. They don't really have anywhere else to go yet.
Hot take.
By the time I hit, guess what, Route 33 up here, that ticket's cashing.
Only on SportsGrid. The Bostonian versus the Book.
I remember one time, I don't know if Kenny will remember this, I said put 100 on, I think I left it on a text, put 100 on this horse that won, and then Kenny called me back later and goes, hey, I never got the text. And I'm like,
no.
Oh yeah. Remember that, Kenny?
I would never stiff anybody. When he texted me as they're loading into the gate, maybe, it's too late.
The Bostonian versus the Book.
Hour number one in full effect as we flip it back over to the NFL. One of the hottest topics. We just talked about the 7-7. We cover everything quickly here, but let's settle into this one. Michael Penix now replaces Kirk Cousins as the Falcons starting quarterback. Yesterday, Ian Rappaport, Dubsy, with this tweet. The Falcons are making a major change as Michael Penix Jr. is expected to take over at quarterback with Kirk Cousins going to the bench. Atlanta is still in the thick of a playoff hunt, and Cousins has struggled mightily. Now Penix takes over. Let's start here, Dubsy, because we'll get into the contract ramifications. And sometimes with me, and I'll be honest, like I work in studio right up to 1 o'clock. The Falcons aren't a great team, so I don't get to watch their full games by the time I get home midway through the third quarter of the 1 o'clock games. But finally, I said, you know what? Looking at the statistics over the past 4 weeks before coming into that Raiders game, hadn't thrown a touchdown pass, did throw for some yards, tons of interceptions. Well, maybe he's just going through some things. Watching that full game on set on Monday Night Football, he looked like he was unathletic, was barely taking the snaps correctly, afraid of what he was seeing. And also, Dubs, let's keep in mind, the Las Vegas Raiders, the worst secondary in football. If there's one game you should light a team up, it's Monday night. They won the football game, and I tweeted out midway through it, this should be the last game that we see Kirk Cousins as a starting quarterback for Atlanta. I love this move. Let's start here just with the change at the quarterback position for the Falcons.
It's been a facade all season long, Donnie. We saw through the first couple of games, Kirk Cousins, wasn't fully back up to 100% on the health side of things. There was a bit of rust, and suddenly he put together a couple of decent games of passing. But here we are again. I mean, Father Time catches up with every athlete, and I think it certainly has come full circle for Kirk Cousins. You look at the numbers, by no means even close to good enough for a team that's, in the playoff mix. They're trying to make a push towards playing playoff football, and they've got a really good shot of doing so. I mean, they've got the Giants on deck, and they should pick up another victory. But as you highlighted, the offense they just can't get it downfield. I mean, they really look like they're stuck in slow motion. So coming off a game where he put up, 112 passing yards, it wasn't good enough. And you look at the 4 weeks prior to what we saw against the Raiders, there's just been nothing. So something had to change. And I like this move. I respect the Falcons for doing so. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure on them. There's a lot of pressure on trying to make this, weird situation of drafting Michael Penix with that 8th pick in this year's draft and then paying Kirk Cousins, $180 million coming into this year for his contract, vice versa, coming back here for the Falcons. So I respect the move. And eventually you've got to see what you've got with Michael Penix Jr. And hopefully he's been a student of the game and learning from one of the great quarterbacks that we've seen from the last 5-10 years. So I think this is the right pathway to bring a young quarterback into the league in terms of, that price tag. Obviously, there's a couple of ways they can try and get around that, and it actually wouldn't look too bad for the Falcons if they can find a potential suitor for Kirk going into next year. But I think, their season right now is on the line. It's a must-win game coming up against the Giants, and they just have to get something going with that offense. And for Kirk Cousins, it's no secret. He cannot get out of the pocket, Donnie. I mean, you or me could run a quicker 40 than Kirk Cousins. I think Penix could suddenly open up that side of the game, and it may take a bit of pressure off with the passing attack.
It's crazy the way it's turned out because, again, I looked at that game on Monday night like, you know what? Atlanta should be scoring at relatively ease in this game. Bijan Robinson with over 100 yards as your running back. We had no passing game because your quarterback just couldn't make reads and was unathletic in the pocket. Now, Kirk Cousins is 36 years old, coming off an Achilles injury, but sometimes I thought maybe they got shafted from their own actual, injury information because it was apparent early on, but they weren't talking about it. He wasn't moving around all that well. And if you remember over the final couple preseason games, or I think the last one, they didn't play Michael Penix. It's all enough at this point. Almost maybe figuring Kirk Cousins wasn't all the way back from that Achilles injury, and they might have needed Penix early in the season. 18 touchdown passes, 16 interceptions isn't good enough. But we blame the Atlanta organization, Dubsy, from day one. Nobody thought it made sense. You went out and you spent $100 million in guaranteed money to get your star quarterback, which you thought you were getting out of Kirk Cousins. Then you turn around in round number one early and take a quarterback as opposed to an offensive lineman or another wide receiver or a tight end or a running back. You get my point here, that would have helped you on the field. So there must have been reasoning okay, we'll get him as an insurance policy, which is never a good idea. But also now, if Michael Penix does come in and plays well, you say, okay, well, at least you have your bridge to the future to quarterback. But if you do release Kirk Cousins, who won't be on the team next year, you take like a $60 million total cap hit that you can spread out over the next 2 years, which is an absolute disaster. Like if you never signed Kirk Cousins and drafted Michael Penix and just let him go, you're probably in the same situation, if not maybe even better as a record for Atlanta in this point. It just never made sense from the beginning. And Raheem Morris on a day-to-day basis, I mean, punting the football numerous times in that game had you scratching your head. I don't think they're going to be able to chase down the Buccaneers, Dubsy, but I do agree. Penix should be the quarterback, and quite honestly, Kirk Cousins should never take another snap for Atlanta, and all of that money completely wasted.
Yeah, last 5 games, 1 touchdown, 9 interceptions. And if you look at the Falcons, Donnie, I mean, they got some pieces. They got some young pieces who could certainly grow with Michael Penix and form quite the offense. You know, Bijan setting the table at running back. Drake London has always shown plenty of promise, although he has let me down plenty of times in the old fantasy football. You've got Kyle Pitts, who's been a little boom or bust, and there's the odds board, plus 190 to make that playoff push. They've got a really good chance coming up this week. I mean, for Michael Penix Jr., this is the welcome to the big leagues that you want going against New York. So I think they had to make the move. I don't understand, bringing Kirk in for that sum of money. And for a couple of, teams out there in the NFL looking ahead to next season, you know what you get with Kirk Cousins, but I think you're spot on there, Donnie. The best years are certainly behind big Kirk Cousins. So the guy brings the swag. I've seen him on the plane with the chain. He's missing a bit of that pizzazz. So let's see if Penix can find it.
By the way, the perfect time to make this move, too, because you could have actually played Kirk Cousins this weekend, Dubsy, not even thrown a pass and beat the New York Giants. But that's not the goal. Like, you want to actually have some offense when you need it. So they win that game against the Raiders, which, again, the Walking Dead would have beat the Raiders. Same thing with the Giants. But let this kid get that start at home, beat the Giants, and then that big-time battle against the Commanders that's going to come up in the next week. And then you finally finish out with a home game against the Panthers. There is a pathway to victory here where they can make it in. Love to move the Penix. Let's see what he has against the New York Giants to see if he can rise to the occasion and actually play good football from the pocket, which I think he can. And you're right, Dubs. You pointed out there are weapons at wide receiver, tight end, and running back that you can use and take advantage of it. We'll see if Penix is up to the job. You know who else should be up to the job this weekend? Patrick Mahomes. We thought he was gone for weeks. He might play Saturday. Dubsy and Donnie. We'll talk about it next.
Uncle Stevie can just walk up the aisle like he's at the supermarket. I'll get a starting pitcher here, I'll get a closer here, I'll get a first baseman here, and he'll just keep throwing things in the cart because there is no limit.
Now he's gone, so they got to go get arms to make that team better. Because the bottom line was they were just outclassed by the Dodgers. Let's face it, they got their ass beat.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I want the mid-major teams. I want the A-10 to get 3 bids. I want, the Missouri Valley Conference to get an extra bid. I want these teams to go ahead that are 1-bid leagues and give some of these other teams opportunities to make the NCAA tournament. Simply put, folks, when we get to the tournament, we don't care about all these teams that are big-time teams.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred or just worked on the side or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NFL and college, they don't operate on the same timelines, right? UNLV's head coach just got, the Purdue job this morning, where I imagine, right, UNC probably needs to know from Bill.
And let's say it's late December, and we see 7, 8 teams open, and none of them want Bill. Then Bill's got to make a decision. Does he want to be a college head coach?
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Right back at it. The hot topics never stop on the early line. Sirius XM channel 159 right here on the Sports Grid Network. Donnie Rightside here along with Dubbs Anderson. Before we move on to some hot topics in the NFL, just wanted to ask you a question about Atlanta with this move. Because you look at them down the stretch, Giants, Commanders, and Panthers. They are winnable football games here for Atlanta when it all boils down to. They hold the tiebreaker over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So could this be a playoff run legitimately for them, or is this more in the future for you? Because we take a look at the closing schedule also for the Buccaneers at the Cowboys, which is a big game, but they're favored and they should win. The Panthers at home and the Saints at home, 2 games they should win. Is there a valuable path where that plus 190 to win the division is something you might be looking at? Or, you know what, it's a rookie quarterback first start. I just don't trust him at this point.
No, absolutely, Donnie. I think Michael Penix is going to do enough to get the score for him against the Giants. They can get the closeout against the Panthers. The Commanders is certainly going to be a tough one, but you're not losing anything. I mean, you've had, 1 touchdown the last 5 weeks from Kirk. Michael Penix is certainly going to be able to add that, and I think with that run game, certainly going to make that offense a lot more dynamic. So I think they do get to 9 wins, and it's going to put them right in the conversation. I think they'd have to roll the Commanders, but at plus 190, it's not a bad price. That would be the question mark for me coming up in 2 weeks there. So if I was to buy in, buy out, I'd say, you know what, Donnie, it's tough. I'd probably still have to have the Commanders up on top. So I think it's going to be a narrow miss. But look, who knows? If they can find a bit of confidence in the building, it's a young team. They might be, buoyed by this move. They may buy in. And who knows? For the Commanders, Daniels, he's been playing banged up for the last, 4, 5, 6 weeks. Maybe that toll eventually catches up with them. So they would need things to go in their favor. If I had to split the difference, I say it's going to be a narrow miss for the Atlanta Falcons, but certainly they'll take a bit of confidence through the closeout of this year. What about you, Donnie? Can you see a way in which they find a path to playing postseason football?
There is a way, because it's hard to win football games on the road. And the reason I bring that up is you saw a great performance last week out of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road against the Chargers. Dallas did play well last week against Carolina, who've been playing much better football over the past month. Now, can they turn that into maybe a playoff run for them? I don't think Dallas is getting in, but the reason I bring that up is they're still playing meaningful football, and they play the Buccaneers in prime time this weekend. It feels like, Dubsy, for me, it comes down to, I think Atlanta has a layup against New York, and then you could get reinvigorated if you watch in prime time the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go down to the Dallas Cowboys. That's what's going to be fun to watch. So we might have a little bit white-knuckle action heading down the stretch between these two teams, but I do think Tampa Bay has to lose to the Dallas Cowboys this weekend to make that real. We'll see, though. I'm excited to watch Michael Penix play, though. I think he'd do well, specifically against the New York Giants. Other outlets that we're talking about with NFL quarterbacks here. Maybe when it goes down, the best quarterback of all time, it's Patrick Mahomes. I don't understand this, Dubs. This guy can get high ankle sprains and go out there like he isn't missing any action whatsoever. We thought this might be a tough stretch. You play Saturday against the Houston Texans. You then have a quick turnaround and play on Christmas Day. It's like, oh, he's probably going to miss at least those 2 games, if not even more, let alone a missed practice, Dubsy. Patrick Mahomes, a full participant at practice. What's the deal?
I think there's gamesmanship coming in for this one, Donnie. Hey. Give my guy a break. For the Kansas City Chiefs, in search of that third Lombardi, they need Patty Mahomes out there. They need him at full health, trying to scramble out of the pocket, making plays, because that's where the X factor comes in. This is a really tough matchup going against the Texans, and it's more about Patty Mahomes having that grit, and he's probably the biggest, competitor gamer in the NFL. So he's going to give himself every chance in trying to get out there for this one. I'll tell you who I've been looking for, Donnie, the guy that straps Patty Mahomes' ankles. Have you seen the tape job? I need a little bit of that ahead of Christmas wrapping for next weekend. He does a fantastic job keeping those wheels in place for Patty Mahomes. But all reports, he's trending and trying to get out there on the field for this weekend. And how can you stop him? If he says, I want to be out there in the mix, you go and do your thing, my guy.
It's wild, too, because usually it's like, okay, got a high ankle sprain, Dubsy. He's a quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs that knows that playbook like the back of his hand. Like, hey, kid, sit down a couple practices this weekend. Let's get you off that ankle here and not get any extra wear and tear. And Mahomes like, no, I'm good. Yes, I have a high ankle sprain, but I am going to practice in full early in the week. It's not even like I'm going to ramp up like, okay, limited limited, then full Friday, and then full go on Saturday. It's crazy to see what Patrick Mahomes actually does. Now, if we're looking at the final schedule for them, which is important, they have a game and a half lead here, Dubsy, in the AFC for having that number one overall position to get the bye week. Texans, then at the Steelers and at the Broncos. It's a tough close here. So if Mahomes was out, that would be really interesting to see if Buffalo can steal that. But if Mahomes is playing, they went from an underdog to a favorite just on Saturday alone. More hot topics from the NFL coming your way right here on the Early Line.
Uncle Stevie can just walk up the aisle like he's at the supermarket. I'll get a starting pitcher here, I'll get a closer here, I'll get a first baseman here, and he'll just keep throwing things in the cart because there is no limit.
Now he's gone, so they got to go get arms to make that team better. Because the bottom line was they were just outclassed by the Dodgers. Let's face it, they got their ass beat.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I want the mid-major teams. I want the A-10 to get 3 bids. I want, the Missouri Valley Conference to get an extra bid. I want these teams to go ahead that are one-bid leagues and give some of these other teams opportunities to make the NCAA tournament. Simply put, folks, when we get to the tournament, we don't care about all these teams that are big-time teams.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred or just worked on the side or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NFL and college, they don't operate on the same timelines, right? UNLV's head coach just got, the Purdue job this morning, where I imagine, right, UNC probably needs to know from Bill.
And let's say it's late December, and we see 7, 8 teams open, and none of them want Bill, then Bill's got to make a decision. Does he want to be a college head coach?
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Quarterback unrest. It's what we get in the NFL. It's a high-pressure situation for some young quarterbacks trying to find their way around the NFL. But in the NFL, Dubs, as we take a look at NFL, stands for not for long when you play bad football. Patrick Mahomes, he's going to be around for a long time, no doubt about it. Why? Because he plays really good football. Do you know a guy who's not sticking around? And I can't believe they're actually sending him to the bench, and I'll tell you why in a moment. It's Will Levis of the Tennessee Titans. Every single week, he has at least one, Dubsy, if not 2 plays that you go, we were going to win this football game until you just made the worst absolute decision that you can make. 12 touchdown passes, 12 interceptions on the year, just under 2,000 yards. He now goes to the bench because you want to get a look at Mason Rudolph, the Tennessee Titans, benching Will Levis, Dubsy. How about that?
Yeah, apparently he's been taking too many of the mayonnaises there from the break room home after training. But look, not a good quarterback. Hasn't worked out. He's a pretty decent athlete, but the passing game, it's erratic. He's got no accuracy. Really can't get that deep ball down the field. He's used his feet at times. He's looked okay, but in terms of the benching for who's coming up next, I agree with you, Donnie. We've seen enough out of Mason Rudolph. You're really not taking a forward step or much of a stride in the right direction on that side of things. And for the Tennessee Titans, it's been a really lackluster season. They could bode for having the worst record going through the regular season, just having 3 wins there in the AFC South. So look, it's tough times there for the Titans. I don't think you're getting any positive addition there from Mason Rudolph, but we've also seen enough from Will Levis, and it's going to be frustrating for management and some of the other guys in the locker room trying to play with this, because there's just no consistency trying to move forward, and it really gives them a tough chance at trying to win football games on Sunday. But you look at the common theme that we have seen this year, and it's just, not to say boneheaded decisions at the wrong time, but it really has been, Donnie, at the critical clutch moment of a lot of these games where they're right in the thick of it, and full credit to Will Levis playing good enough football to keep him in the arm wrestle. He just throws it away. He just gives it up, and that's the end of the ball game.
Now, here's my question, though, Dubbs. Like, your goal for the Titans should be to lose out. Will Levis does a great job of losing football games for you. So why would you even want like a competent performance out of Mason Rudolph? Like, to be honest, I don't think they're going to win whether or not Levis is in or Mason Rudolph. At the Colts, still playing for something, even though they blew that game last week against the Denver Broncos. At the Jaguars, who, all right, maybe a little bit more talent, and Doug Peterson trying to hold on to his job for next year. And then the Titans to end the season. And by the way, Texans, to end the season, which the Texans already have their playoff spot wrapped up. Like, I would just keep starting Will Levis to ensure myself of losing the next 3 games so we can actually draft Will Levis's replacement. We'll see what happens, but I do agree. Will Levis is a terrible NFL quarterback, and probably his time is certainly short here. Let's keep it moving to other quarterbacks getting benched, which I love this one a lot. Deshaun Watson is a bad quarterback for Cleveland. He makes so much money and it's guaranteed, you really can't move off of the guy. So then they go to Jameis Winston after the injury, and there were people out there going like, wow, Jameis Winston absolutely deserves to be a starting quarterback in the NFL with sensational performances that he gives, and just a few short weeks later, he's on the bench for DTR because of how bad Jameis Winston is. It's fun to watch Jameis Winston play football until you have to coach him and realize, oh, he's going to throw 3 to 4 interceptions or 3 to 4 turnovers every single game. Cleveland makes the move. Doesn't matter. But Jameis Winston, the roller coaster ride, seems like it's sidetracked now.
Yeah, and look, for Jameis Winston, it's exciting. It's a fun storyline every time he leads the Browns out onto the field and gives that pregame hype speech. He can put up, close to 500 passing yards, as we saw going against the Broncos 3 weeks ago, but he can also go missing like we saw last weekend. And very similar to Will Levis, very prone to throwing a little interception there in the mix. So, of course, you're going to get some big numbers on the stat sheet, the way that Jameis plays, but again, makes some terrible decisions at times. And for the Browns, what a disaster, what a dumpster fire of a quarterback's room this has turned out to be. And for DTR, really hasn't had much of a bad showing from the opportunities that he's had since coming up to the NFL. So excited to see what he can try and close out the season with. At least he's a younger quarterback who certainly has plenty of upside, and there's a few weapons that he can build around. I mean, Jerry Jeudy has looked fantastic over the last couple of weeks. So I think it's promising times for DTR there, and I think he's probably going to give you a little more than Jameis Winston. And, look, Donnie, for us as viewers and fans of the great game, we get to enjoy Jameis Winston on a Sunday, but can you imagine playing alongside of him? Like, it's a lot to take in, especially when he's the guy giving up the ball every Sunday afternoon. Some of these other players in the locker room must be getting a little tired of that.
I'll tell you who's not getting tired of it, though. Jerry Jeudy at the wide receiver position. As a wide receiver myself back in the day, if my quarterback's going to throw 3 or 4 interceptions, but he's going to keep slinging it, I love it, which means even if I'm double or triple covered, the ball is coming my way. Fantastic stuff. But again, from a head coaching perspective, it gives you migraines on a night-to-night basis. He goes down. We'll see what DTR has to offer. Now, at the end of the year, Dubbsy, Christmas is coming up. How about a $54 million present for safety Budda Baker of the Arizona Cardinals? He's getting paid, Dubs. You know what I'm waiting on? My big $54 million present from the SportsGrid Network. I'm expecting as a re-up here. That's big numbers for a safety out there.
Donnie, I'm still trying to digest you just sharing with me on today's show that you're a dynamic wide receiver. I didn't know you had those wheels and you can get it vertical downfield.
Oh, come on now. Look, getting vertical downfield is one thing, but getting horizontal over the middle, I could definitely do that, Dubsy. So there you go.
I'd love to see it. And love this move, this contract extension there for Budda Baker. I think it's a fantastic signature. A great play to lock up going into the future for Baker, 28 years of age. He's had a nice little season here. They drafted him in that second round, so certainly showed plenty of promise. He played 7 Pro Bowls, twice All-Pro there. So for the Cards. I still can't figure out this football team, Donnie. I buy in on Arizona, and then I buy out. I watched them last weekend. I'm like, who are they? What's their DNA? But I think, they need a bit of depth, a bit of consistency, and I like this. Sign of what they can build around for the next few years there. So I think this is a good move for the Cards.
Now, we talk about $54 million going to Buddha. How about the next guy we're going to talk about here? And that's Micah Parsons, maybe the best young pass rusher in the NFL. And if you are a top-flight pass rusher, you absolutely break the bank. And he might be the highest-paid defender in the history of the NFL when it's all said and done. Now, we also have Jerry Jones, who, say what you want, maybe you believe him, maybe you can't. But in a tweet from John Machota here, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones on 1053 The Fan said there is no truth to any story about the Cowboys being interested in trading Micah Parsons. Jones said words on that topic have, quote, never been uttered in this organization. You're not supposed to trade your young players, but boy, you just signed Dak to a record-breaking contract. You signed CeeDee Lamb to a ton of money as a wide receiver. Now Micah Parsons is, again, going to be expected to be paid the highest number any defender has ever been paid. Good luck, Jerry. We're looking for a refinance on AT&T Stadium here. How about that?
Yeah, maybe get a couple of blinds there, keep the sun out, Jerry. But look, you got to look after Micah. Everything he's done for the Cowboys, this was meant to be the big three, and you've looked after two of them. Dak got paid, CD, he got the bag, and for Parsons, what else do you need to see? Look at this resume. 3-time Pro Bowler, two-time first-team All-Pro, Rookie of the Year back in 2021, and still playing at a very high clip. Credit to Parsons saying, look, I've never been one to try and entertain playing elsewhere, but I understand the business side of things. If they don't want me in the building, happy to go and give my best performance wherever I'm getting cut a check. So love that attitude from Parsons, one of the good guys, from what he brings to that locker room for the Cowboys. And for Jerry Jones, I mean, when are we going to get this guy off the mic, Donnie? I mean, continues to just give us ammo week in, week out. I guess we should be saying thank you.
Can't fire an owner. That's the best part about it. He's the general manager, so he's not going to fire his son either. And just the way you go for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm sure they'll mess this up, and Micah Parsons, a day before the season starts, will actually be still asking for the contract that he deserves, and then they'll give it to him, and then the Dallas Cowboys will miss the playoffs or have an underperforming season. It's just what they do. NBA Cup. Did you watch it? Did you enjoy it? We'll at least talk about it next.
Uncle Stevie can just walk up the aisle like he's at the supermarket. I'll get a starting pitcher here, I'll get a closer here, I'll get a first baseman here, and he'll just keep throwing things in the cart because there is no limit.
Now he's gone, so they got to go get arms to make that team better. Because the bottom line was they were just outclassed by the Dodgers. Let's face it, they got their ass beat.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I want the mid-major teams. I want the A-10 to get 3 bids. I want, the Missouri Valley Conference to get an extra bid. I want these teams to go ahead that are 1-bid leagues and give some of these other teams opportunities to make the NCAA tournament. Simply put, folks, when we get to the tournament, we don't care about all these teams that are big-time teams.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
How do you find some of this great talent that you've brought in, who are still early in their career, might not have a ton of tape on them yet?
I've been around this business, man, for almost 20 years. So a lot of these guys will tell you that I popped into a lot of gyms, sparred or just worked on the side or, kind of worked out, just watching. I've always loved this sport, man. I think it's the greatest. And we want to continue to put on the next up-and-coming superstars. We know we got them.
Only on SportsGrid.
The NFL and college, they don't operate on the same timelines, right? UNLV's head coach just got, the Purdue job this morning, where I imagine, right, UNC probably needs to know from Bill.
And let's say it's late December, and we see 7, 8 teams open, and none of them want Bill. Then Bill's got to make a decision. Does he want to be a college head coach?
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
We are the champions, my friends. How do you like that, Dubbsy? Open it up with a little championship music here because a banner will be raised in Milwaukee, not for another NBA championship for Giannis Antetokounmpo, an NBA Cup championship. Because why? The Bucks won 97-81 over the Thunder. That was an impressive performance. And hearing the stat line, Dubbsy, look at the third quarter for OKC, 14 points. The fourth quarter for OKC, 17 points. The first time this season, OKC has been under 99 points, and they didn't even get to 90. They got to 81. What a defensive effort for the Milwaukee Bucks, Dubbsy.
Yeah, quite the display there from the Bucks and quite the performance from Big Bad Giannis. 26 points, goes for a triple-double, and you could see the emotions afterwards. I mean, not to say that everyone else wasn't following suit, but I mean, Giannis, he had the dance moves going. He was trying to rip the cigar. Like, relax, my guy. It's the NBA Cup. It's not the NBA championship. There's levels to this thing. But, you know, on the betting side of things and, you know, being a fan, Donnie, it certainly brought a bit more juice. And that's what the association is trying to encourage early in the season, give us a bit more excitement, trying to go against the back half of the NFL. And for the Bucks, it was a big performance considering, you know, how they started this season. They really got off to a lackluster start for the regular season. Dame time, Giannis, the chemistry concerns, they really weren't getting along. We saw it out there on the floor. They just couldn't find that cohesion, that spark. We saw it, you know, going into the locker room. There was a bit of smoke off the floor with the two superstars not getting along there in the change rooms. But look, they figured it out. They played like a really good basketball team, and it wasn't so much about that offensive display. It was, as you highlighted, keeping, you know, the young high-octane offense of OKC to 81 points. And this is a sign of the association, Donnie. When these young teams get behind, all they do is go for the three ball, and they just didn't have that shot dropping. And suddenly the margin goes from 10 to 15, and you're trying to get that three going to get back into the game. But when you're sitting at 15% from beyond the arc, eventually you have to give up. I know it's tough trying to go in the paint and get down nice and low to go against Giannis, but they just didn't have that deep shot working for them. They kept trying to play catch up and going back to it, and they just couldn't get back into this ball game. So 97-81 for the Bucks. Well done. And, you know, the Lakers last season, this was their NBA championship. This was their Super Bowl. They put everything in to winning the cup. I don't think that's the case for the Bucks. I think they just did enough to get themselves into the mix. They found themselves in the big dance going against the Thunder, and they said, you know what? There's $500,000 on the line, not just for us superstars, but for some of the young guys who do this could actually make a world of difference. Let's go and get that bag. Let's celebrate. And maybe they use this as that kickstart to making another run towards the NBA championship, because you've got two of the best players in the league. And when they play on song, like we saw last night, when they can get that defensive grit going as well, they're going to be a very tough out for any team.
Also, take a look at the Milwaukee Bucks run here. They're actually on an 11-2 run here, really turning around their season. But if we're just looking from the Cup itself, 7-0 in the Cup, points per game, roughly 112, only giving up around 100. So they've been dominant all the way through, which included that Cup final performance. And Giannis, obviously the MVP of the Cup here, 30 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists per game. Absolutely fantastic run for Giannis, deservedly so, with a triple-double yesterday. Now, we always talk about the NBA Cup and what it means, and will it continue in the future? If the NBA figures it's going to make itself money, then they're going to continue it here. But you know what I took from this, which I thought was really interesting? Last year, they had the Cup. There was no talks about, like, hey, you know, Las Vegas, should we change it? Should we move it? The attendance was great. The Lakers were in it. Big West Coast team, superstar. I don't think say we didn't have superstars. Giannis is a massive superstar. SGA and Oklahoma City are one of the younger up-and-coming teams. But Adam Silver, after the game, was talking about, like, hey, you know what? In the future, it might not just be in Las Vegas. This should be the ultimate destination city. And if it's a massive success, you should always have it in a place like Vegas. So now they're saying, like, well, maybe the, you know, semifinals could be in the home cities and the finals just being in Las Vegas. So it's interesting. They're open to making changes on this, but I don't think that's the change that they anticipated. So for me, look, the NBA before Christmas Day / the NBA playoffs, / the NFL playoffs doesn't mean all that much to me. I love the backstretch of the NBA. I love the NBA playoffs, but to get more eyes on the game, Dubbsy, I don't think this is working in the direction they thought it would be as some massive win. And also, some of the shots, which I joked about tweeting out this morning, the champagne, which was on ice, They didn't crack it open. And Doc Rivers said, we got bigger things to look forward to. That was like a direct shot at the NBA. So I joked, like, next year when the champagne gets rolled in, if they don't crack the champagne bottles, the organization will probably get fined $1 million for embarrassing the NBA because the teams itself are telling you we got bigger fish to fry. But how do you feel about the Cup after 2 years, and should it continue? And also, will they make changes or any changes that you think they should make?
Yeah, I think they'll make changes, Donnie, and I make the comparison. It's very similar to what we see in the English Premier League with the soccer, and they'd be playing midweek fixtures. I think it makes it a little more exciting. It really doesn't move the needle for me, but does it give it a bit more juice than just, say, a regular week in the NBA? Yes, it absolutely does, and I think it could be a great way to showcase the game, whether it's in Las Vegas, which I'm sure the players absolutely welcome. They've probably put a nice little chunk through those winning checks from last night, but maybe you shop it around from coast to coast or even internationally, which would be tough given where it lands in the schedule. But it's a tough sell. Football rules the game right now. We're getting ready for the playoffs in the NFL, and that's always going to be tough trying to run up alongside of. But it wasn't great when you've got the head coach saying that, look, this one's okay, but we really got eyes towards the big dance at the end of the season. And speaking of coaches, well done to Darvin Ham. He went 7-0 with the Lakers, now 7-0 with the Bucks as well, being a part of that coaching staff. So, look, it's here to stay. I think they could make some tweaks. I wouldn't give it an A+, but it's certainly better than what we saw 3 years ago with no NBA Cup. So I think it is a slight positive addition in some way here, Donnie.
The one thing I do like that the NBA did, though, is they made sure that in those Cup games, they changed the court and made them so crazy that when you turned the game on and you saw the court, like, oh, this is an NBA Cup game. Because otherwise, like when Ben was trying to explain it to me last year when it was starting out, like you needed a calculator, you needed a pencil, you needed an abacus just to see who was playing and what meant what. So at least that made a difference here. But the NBA is going to try to find certain ways to tweak it to get more fan interest. It just looks like right now that fan interest isn't growing organically. They're trying to force things through, which leads us to our next topic coming up, the All-Star Game. It used to be awesome. I used to love it. Now I don't even know the format on a year-to-year basis. Dubbs and Donnie, let's get some more NBA action next.
There's a better chance the Raiders might stumble into a win because of who they're playing over the next few weeks than the Giants, who I don't think will win.
I don't believe for 1 minute that they want to win a game. I do not believe that the New York Football Giants want to win a game at all because it will cost them dearly. In fact, they will continue to suck for years to come if they screw this up.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Dubbs, growing up here as an NBA fan, as a basketball fan, as a youngster, some things like really mattered in professional sports. One of those was the NBA All-Star Game and NBA All-Star Weekend. Your buddies would circle around the TV on NBA Saturday night, watch an unbelievable superstar-laden dunk competition that thrilled you. Larry Bird and the fellas out there knocking down three-point shots. The stars really gave it their all. And there was a time when East versus West mattered, where the players not necessarily were best friends, but they did compete. It was fun, and nobody ever complained about the NBA All-Star Game. Now we're at the point where we don't even know what format we use in the NBA All-Star Game. Front Office Sports tweeted out yesterday, Dubsy. You ready for this? The NBA has unveiled a revamped format for the 2025 All-Star Game, which includes a 4-team tournament, 3 teams of 8 NBA All-Stars, which now I'm already upset about this because it says a 4-team tournament, so we're using non-NBA players apparently. The 4th team is the Rising Stars, so there you go. I didn't read it all the way through, and there's actually NBA players along with it. I was ready to really rip this thing open, Dubs, if I heard like the WNBA or some college kids were playing in this. But each game is to 40 points. The prize pool is $1.8 million. The winning team gets $125,000, which the All-Stars is basically like you finding, Dubsy, a crinkled up dollar in your pocket after you do laundry. And the rosters are going to be chosen by Shaq, Charles Barkley, and Kenny Smith. Dubsy, what are we doing here? But before I get your take, I need to hear a player who's actually going to be in the All-Star Game. Here's Kevin Durant's take.
I hate it. Absolutely hate it. It's terrible. All-Star Game, formats changing, all the formats, terrible in my opinion. We should just go back to East-West and just play against them. But we'll see how this one works. You never know. I might be wrong. I'm just another guy with an opinion. But we'll see how it works.
There you go, Dubs. One of the best players in the game, a superstar playing in the game. He's like, yeah, this is dumb. What do you think?
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. They're not Dubsy's words. They're Kevin Durant's words, but I share the same sentiment, Donnie. I mean, what is going on? Did the players ever care about this thing? Put, $10, $20 million on the line. Maybe then they'll get up for the occasion. But we've got, 4 teams going through a mini-style format? I mean, I don't know, Donnie. What makes more money than one game? Let's have a mini tournament. That's certainly going to raise the viewers going in there for All-Star Weekend. I'm not here for it. I don't even understand it fully. Why we keep chopping and changing it every single year? It's just not a thing. The players do not care about it, Donnie. There's not enough money on the line. There's not enough at stake. And look, to get that extra juice, it comes from tradition. It comes from years of players going back and forth. But who's really going back and forth? Who are we really playing for? Why would I want to beat you up so badly when we were teammates last year? I don't know. I think this is a massive miss. And, full credit to Kevin Durant, Slim Reaper. He tells it exactly how it is, whether it be on the burner accounts or straight to the press. He ain't here for it. I think that's similar style of thinking to a lot of the players in the association. You're getting them to show up to this thing, and they still don't even know what they're showing up and how they're playing in it.
Exactly. And again, back in the day, the All-Star Game used to be one of those national effect things. You said, you know what? I got to tune in because I don't get to see all these players all the time. In the social media age, you see every single one of these players whenever you want to see them. So them coming together on the court for one time, it's like, yeah, been there, done that, saw that before. But I do think it is just so simple. The players have to understand what it means because the NFL players understood what the Pro Bowl meant. We're like, we don't want this. And the NFL is like, fine, we'll do away with it if you don't want it here. Because if you played the Pro Bowl game in the NFL like a regular season NFL game, they would have never gone away with it because it would have been intriguing television to watch. Blitzes, quarterbacks taking hits, but nobody wants that once the season is over. But in the NBA, is it just so simple? Yes, it can be a pickup style game, Dubsy, but also at the same time, if the players just understood, let's just not turn this into a layup line, alley-oop, 3-point competition and play it somewhat like a basketball game. People will be invested and people will watch and people will enjoy it. But also at the same time, I want to know what I'm tuning into. And on a year-to-year basis, this is just so far out of whack. A 14 tournament as opposed to just the best 12 on each side playing each other. I don't even know who comes up with these concepts as they say, like, this is supposed to work. Like, who came up with this as a good idea?
Yeah, it may have been after taking a questionable lollies late in a Saturday night. But, Donnie, why don't we make it the All-Stars of the international All-Stars playing the association against the homegrown talent? Imagine Luka, the Joker, squaring off, King James, Durant. Then they'd be playing for the patch on the front of the jersey, they'd feel a little more invested. Right now, they don't even know what time they're meant to be showing up for tip-off. They don't even know what game they're playing in.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Hour number 2 coming up next. Expecting the NFL would actually care about playing some games. How about that?